Hey everyone, this is Daniel. I just want to talk about what has been going on and what I'm planning on doing. So I just finished the track pack, the part 2 or side B. So that's good, and that frees me up to do more new interesting things. The thing I'm going to do probably most likely is to switch to a free-to-play system rather than current $10 price tag. But if you bought the game, don't worry, because the content that you got for the price is actually going to be more expensive when the game goes free to play. But if you've already bought the game, you're still going to keep everything. The plan there is to make the main storyline of the game for free, and then I will sell packs of all the optional missions, probably one pack per act. And then I'm gonna have to do some rearranging because there's some tracks that aren't used for any missions, and I'm gonna have to squeeze those in somewhere, and probably do some work just to make the first missions look and play a lot nicer, because they're some of the first things I made, so I can probably make them more impressive. So, but removing that, the initial cost of the game should allow more people to just try it. And that's one issue I have right now. There's just not many people playing the game. So if I can remove that barrier, I'll also be more people using the Steam Workshop, which will be good. So that's probably what I'm going to do next. And we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping that it will just get more people just playing, and that I think that'll be good for the game in general. People are not used to paying for a lot of these rhythm games, so I think that'll be good. Now, another thing it might allow me to do, I kind of think what I'm going to do, instead of downloadable packs of songs, instead you'll just pay to unlock. And that would allow us to have stuff like daily missions and things, or daily challenges, and you could that would allow you to try songs that you haven't purchased yet. Stuff like that. There's all kinds of interesting things I can possibly do. Another thing I'd like to do is work on, as far as the editor anyway, I'd like to try to do a bunch of auto generation of all the different, like the environment, this track spline, all the different models in the world, set pieces. And I think that when you create a new track, all of this stuff would be turned on by default and just set to some random values, so that you can really just hop in and make a track and have it look nice by default. And then you can turn off the auto gen for all these different features as you want, and then go in and make your own changes. So I think that'll be a lot better. Right now, when you make a new track, it's just in a black box environment with no track or anything. So obviously that'll be much better for blind users. And then hopefully I can have some kind of descriptions of, I'm thinking there'll be like themes or something, like, and I can hopefully describe, so you can choose in like an environment that you want your track to be in. Also, one thing I think I need is a auto generation for zigzag shapes. Right now, what happens when if you're in an audio mode while editing, it kind of positions them in a default, but the default position can be hard to read sometimes. So I'd like to just improve that a bit, but I think that's another thing that you would, instead it's a flag that you turn on and off, whether or not you want to auto-generate the zigzags. And of course, if you want to, move them around and do stuff by yourself, then you just turn that off. Lanes, I guess I don't need OBS here. Lanes are not quite, they're in the game and they work, but they're a little bit wonky. I'm not, after playing with them this whole time, I'm not quite happy with, I'm not using them when I'm making a track. Like, I make a track and I think this is great, but then, oh, I have to put lanes in somewhere. So they're hard to author. They don't control well. I kind of thought I would like the way that they control, but in the end I don't, and that it's kind of buggy. Like you have to press and hold really early and stuff like that. So I feel like there's improvements that I could make there. I thought that, like, wow, I'll be using these like crazy in all different creative ways, but that hasn't happened yet. So we'll see if I can get time and energy to work on that. Anyway, these are all kind of shorter term plans, and of course there's lots of bug requests and things. I really need to look at crash logs. I've been getting a bunch of those. There must be some new crash that's popped up that I haven't seen, but unfortunately the crash logs and things, they don't have quite enough information for me to just figure things out easily. So I asked on the Discord if anybody had ideas for bigger, more long-term goals. Obviously, a new story campaign or online multiplayer. I think it seems to be kind of 50-50 on what people would want. And then I had the idea of creating an arcade-style controller. I thought that could be fun. And you could buy one if you want, but I do have a little bit of experience with creating stuff like that, only a tiny bit, using laser cut wood and buying the arcade buttons and things and bolting them in. So I've done a little bit of that before, but I know that to do that kind of thing one-off, it's very expensive. And so like if like a bunch of people wanted something like that, it would probably be, it's hard to say how much, but to make it worth my time and everything, I'd have to like be creating like a prototype. I don't know. No one asked about that, so I don't know why I'm talking about it. But I've also had this idea in my head for a new game mode, and this is because I still just don't have a lot of people playing the game, and I don't seem to be able to get a lot of interest. And I think part of that is that when people see the game, they don't quite get it. Like if you're not used to looking at rhythm games, and you see my game, you kind of, I think a lot of people, they don't know what's happening. So I keep thinking, I don't know if it's a new game mode or if I'm going to keep expanding the existing one, but I'm thinking, what if all of the rhythm elements, like right now the column notes, they don't really make sense. What's it, like the actual animation, the look, when people see that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to them. So the column notes and the zigzags, but I'm thinking like, for it to really make sense and have impact to somebody looking at the game, I would want all of the rhythm gameplay elements to have to do with the actual physical tracks. So like I changed the wide notes into jump notes, or like little ramps, and so that kind of makes sense when you see a ramp coming up and the player jumps, right? So I'd like to have more elements like that, and I have no idea what I would do. This is just me kind of thinking out loud. If the game could have always on steering, and that sounds like a nightmare just because how the steering works in the game right now. I'd have to really change it to make it just super easy to steer around, because right now you get pushed around and stuff by turns, so it absolutely wouldn't work. But I could add what I'm calling Pac-Man notes. I don't know the name for them. A lot of games have these kind of notes that you don't have to actually press a button for, you just have to be in the right place. So I was looking at that Ongeki is an arcade game where you can move back and forth with this weird lever, and there's like little coins, I guess, that you pick up by moving to them. And then also, I think, was it Spin Rhythm has the same kind of like notes that you just have to like collect. You don't have to press a button to hit them. And so, what if you could steer around and collect these little, what I'm calling Pac-Man notes, because you just hit them and collect them. So jumping, the game has jumps. What if instead of zigzags, you had these rails that you would hit? Like, everyone's familiar with like rail grinding in like skateboarding games, you know. So what if it just visually looked like that? I think that could have a lot more visual impact. What if you could like do some kind of wall ride or something? What if there was like some kind of hazard on the track and you had to like jump over it? You know, things like that. Or if you had to, I don't know, but I'm kind of thinking, what if there were more simplified controls? But because the game's controls are symmetrical, mirrored horizontally, right? What if in beginner mode you only had used, you know, one stick on the controller to move back and forth, and then the A button to jump, and then maybe like one, you know, to hit some notes or something, a couple buttons. But, and this is something that they do in that Ongeki game. So that game has 2 sets of 3 buttons on either side of the stick. And usually you're only using 3 of the buttons, but sometimes the track will split into 2, and so then you have to use all 6 buttons. And so like, what if Sequence Storm did the same thing, where normally you're just using one stick and pressing one button or whatever. It's highly simple, or maybe just a couple of shoulder buttons. But then as the game gets harder, you would see the track split. Your actual, I guess, maybe your vehicle would split in half or something, and you'd be controlling both, or something like that. So the gameplay would actually wind up pretty similar to what Sequence Storm already is. But I'm just, again, just trying to think of ways to add the visual impact that I think I would need in order to get people to see the game and actually want to play it, because that's kind of the issue I'm having right now. Anyway, that's all just me thinking out loud about stuff, trying to think like how to make everything actually work out. And then right here it says funding. So if I were to try to do any of these bigger things, I don't see any way I could do it without first doing some kind of Kickstarter or something, especially if I was going to go in and work full-time on, you know, one of these bigger tasks that could take minimum like 6 months. I mean, that would honestly take a lot of money. So, and I don't know how to even reach the subject. You know, I have a tiny Patreon, and that's really great. I'm really happy that I have supporters there, but it's just, I guess the amount of sales I get just doesn't make it worth it, I suppose. Or I can just continue to do like smaller DLCs, maybe some expansions. I really don't know, but to be honest, I'm not making a profit doing that. And that's after I've, you know, put out a few track packs and things. It's clear that's not going to pay for itself. And so, yeah, the issue, I still really don't have any presence on Steam, and I don't know how you get it. If you look at any other rhythm game, and then there's the little like related games that you can look at, my game doesn't show up under any of the other games, so I don't know why. And maybe it has to do with the number of reviews. If you look at other games, they have, you know, hundreds or thousands of reviews, and I have 57. So maybe that's why Steam isn't taking it seriously. You know, I have a lot of good reviews. I think I have one negative review out of all those, and all the positive reviews are mostly really happy with the game. But again, I just don't have hardly any reviews. I tried to do yeah, on the Rhythm Game subreddit. I posted like the little trailer for the last song pack, and I said I would give out 10 Steam keys to anyone who asked, because I just was like, well, if people, I just want to see if people want to try the game, and only 4 people asked for a key. So I guess that's just kind of discouraging. Like, I can't even give the game away. Is what it feels like. Um, and I feel like I have no social media presence or anything. Like, should I try to get somebody with a following to play the game or demonstrate it? I mean, is that what you have to do? I don't know. That is a every interaction I've had with a YouTuber has been extremely negative. Like, and so it's like I don't even want to try. Anyway, well, this was a really cheery and fun update, but that's just kind of where I'm at. I want to keep working on stuff, but if I'm to keep working on accessibility and keep putting out content and stuff like that, I'm at the point where I would really need probably to do some kind of crowdfunding so that it can just be possible to do, because right now it kind of isn't. Anyway, I think that's it. So thanks for joining the Patreon actually, but also the Discord. That I was really surprised to see how that took off. And like I keep saying, I'm too old for Discord, and I still feel like I don't get it. But that was actually super helpful. I kind of wish I had done that a long time ago. Before I did that, I just had like a Twitter, and Twitter is just shouting into the void. Like no one cares about Twitter, it seems. Anyway, so that's it. That's all I have to say. And you will see me another time. Bye.